Good morning, everybody. It's Laurel. Today is February 21st. It's a Saturday, and this is Quilt Tube number 2. I want to say thank you for everybody that left the nice comments on my first quilting video. It was really encouraging to get some comments and likes, and I got a couple new subscribers, so that was exciting. I have a decent bit to show you today. This is actually the second time I started this video because I did what I just did right there through like a 5-minute span. I don't know what happens to my vocabulary when I turn this camera on. It just goes straight downhill. But I have a finished quilt to show you. I have a couple blocks done on some quilt alongs. I have progress on the memory quilt I talked about in the last video. I have progress on my Valentine's quilt that I started. And I have I have a quilty, I can't even think of the word. Just a quilty project that I want to share with you. Okay, so first let's talk about the finished quilt. So my goal is, in all these videos, I have a lot of quilt tops, and my goal is to show a finished quilt between videos. So after every video, I will either quilt a quilt myself, or I will send it off to a long armor. That is my hope. So far, between 1 and 2, I got that accomplished. So this is the quilt. This is done with a jelly roll. It is a 4x4 setting, and these blocks are 9-inch finished within the block. So it is a 36 by 36 inch quilt. So this is a good baby size, very easy to do, and I do feel like this would be a good beginner quilt. I will tell you some of the things that I did wrong and some of the things I feel like I did right. So I quilted this over a span of, I'm going to say 4 nights. I didn't attempt to do it all. I probably could have done it in 2 evenings or like a long Saturday. It does take a little bit to do some quilting. I have to go slower because I don't do it a lot, so it takes me a little bit longer than it would if it was somebody more experienced that was doing it. I do use a walking foot, which helps guide your fabric evenly through your machine, and it gives a nice even stitch that I really like the look of. So what I did was I just took my walking foot and lined it up, used, a seam line from each side and ran that down and used it as a guide. So these are not evenly spaced lines. I wanted them to be a little bit not even so that if I messed up, it wouldn't be noticeable. So if you're purposely trying to make your lines, thicker, thinner, whatever, then when you get one that doesn't quite work out the way you want it to, it just looks like you planned it, so it's okay. But I just basically did that, like I probably did like this section. I went here, went around, then I cut my thread, and I came down, did the square around that way, and I did that, probably, I don't have a lot of time in the evenings after work for quilting, so 4 nights, even if it was, an hour or so, I would say 5-6 hours I probably worked on quilting this. And that may be an exaggeration. It could have been less, but it is achievable at a beginner level, I feel like. Now, like I said, I was pleased with how I did the spacing. Now let's talk about the things that I did wrong in this quilt. So when I got done quilting it, I did not do the proper thing that you should do. And at the end of your line, I did not pull the thread out, knot it, and bury it and pull it through. That's what you should do. I did not. I did a little back stitch on my machine and just cut my thread. Now, this quilt is just going to be displayed in my house. It's not anything that's going to be used. There's no babies in my family right now that I'm giving this to. This is really just for me because I love Kewpies. And when I saw this fabric, I had to have it. So if I was doing this to give as an actual baby gift, I would be more particular about making sure that the threads were super, super secure because it would be washed a lot. I will say with the technique that I used, so if you remember from the last video, this was already, when you sewed the blocks together, you sewed it on top of batting. So there's batting already in it. So all I had to do was put a backing on this. If in the future I did that technique again, I would put an additional piece of batting on the back before I quilted it. I did not really want that because I didn't want the thickness, but because I did not put an extra layer of quilting, you can, well, it's kind of hard to see. Oh, yeah, so you see there, you can see the lines where my blocks were put together, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Not that this will be on a quilt ladder or something, so nobody's really going to pick it up and see the back. But again, if I was doing this as a gift, I would not want that grid in the back of my fabric. So I would either put an extra piece of batting or I would use a dark background. Now, when I got done with the quilting, I went to find, I knew I had purchased the binding for this because it's in the same line. It has little flowers on it. When I found my fabric that I was using for the binding, it was packaged very neatly with the backing I had picked out for this that I'd forgot that I had. So, and it was this. It was this. So I have a piece of this, but I have another jelly roll of this also. So it's possible I may make another one and just, vary it a little bit, or I might make a different one, but I will have some backing for that. I don't know what I was thinking or what I was not thinking, I guess is a better rendition of that, but I am tickled to have that done. So thanks to doing these videos, I have one quilt finished that probably would have just sat there forever and ever and ever. I was looking at where I hang my quilt tops earlier, trying to decide which one I wanted to show you that I was going to send off this next time. They are covered in dust, like it is. I gotta do better. Okay, so now let's talk about quilt alongs. So I have this is kind of a success and kind of a failure. I am doing the Riley Blake block challenge. I kept trying to put designer in there. That is not the name of it. It's the Riley Blake block challenge. It's a beautiful quilt. I have printed off the first 3 or 4 patterns, but I've only done one block. So the block I did was spin around. If you go to Riley Blake Designs blog, you can type in block challenge, or you can just go in your internet browser and type in RBD block challenge 2026, and you will be able to access all the free patterns to this. I love this this quilt, but I don't know, I was just in a block. I think because, like I said in the last video, I had so much stuff I needed to get done that it was just blocking me from making any progress. But I did come in and make this block twice, because the first time it was a full half inch all the way around, too small. I don't even know how I did that. I went back and looked. The pieces were all cut the same. I think that probably what caused the issue the first time is I was rushing, because I had it in my mind I was going to make that block that day if I got nothing else done, but I really wanted to do other stuff. So I pushed it too much, and I didn't take my time with my trimming, and my pressing, and it just ate up a full 1/2 inch. That's insane. That's insane. I mean, I don't know that I could try to do that and mess a block up that bad. But I put it to the side. I didn't attempt it again that day. The next night I came home and I took my time and I finished the block. So I do love these colors and this fabric. There is a little bit of wobble wobble in there, but that will quilt out and it will be fine. This was, you know, a little bit of a chore matching these. There's a lot of points in here that need to match. Now, I am a firm believer in using a basting stitch, and when I say a basting stitch, what I mean is if you I normally sew at a 2. I lengthened my stitch length to 4.5, and I just go over, sorry. So if I'm sewing these 2 pieces together, I just go over the intersection with that basting stitch, and the intersection and the intersection. And then I open it up and I see if my points match. If they do, great. I close it back up, finish stitching with my regular 2 stitch length. If they don't, it's much easier to pull out a 4.5 basting stitch that's this long versus a 2 length, you know, 9 inches long. It saves you time in the long run. Now, I will say, if you start your pieces prior to, it will be easier to match up your points. I do not starch because I do not like starch in my fabric. It's a personal preference. So if you take your time, you can get the same result. That's all I'm saying. But I do want to get some more progress on this. But again, my goals in quilting are just goals. They don't stress me out if I don't get things done. It just gives me something to reach for. The next quilt along that I'm participating in is Socialites 3. This is through Fat Quarter Shop. And I want to show you. These are the blocks. And again, this is all free on Fat Quarter Shop's. It gets a little blurry. On Fat Quarter Shop's site, just go in to their website, type in Socialites 3. And you will be able to they give you the dates the blocks are coming out. It gives you lets you see what the blocks are going to be, who the designer of each block is, fabric requirements. It comes in the patterns come in 3 different block sizes, 3, 6, and 9. I am doing 6-inch because that's what I like. They give you a coloring page, and this is the block layout that they have. I am not using this block layout as of right now. I have picked a different layout. The last Socialites quilt, when I finished it, I wound up not doing all of the blocks because when I put mine together just with the fabrics that I chose, it made it look a little bit busy. So I want to be able to do all the blocks this time. So I wanted a simplified layout so I wouldn't reach that point again and go, oh, I think this is too busy and I'm going to have to leave some blocks out. Now, don't get me wrong. I was happy to leave blocks out by the time I got to that point because I dragged it out so long. But I went online and I just Googled. It's 25 blocks. Yes, 25 blocks. And I went in and Googled 25 block layout. It gave me a couple layouts that were 25 blocks and some that were 12 and some that were 20, and it didn't do exactly what I wanted to do, but it did give me an image of a quilt. And I don't have the background of what this pattern is. I didn't save that information. I just took a screenshot because I like the layout. I tweaked it a little bit, and this is what I plan to do as my layout. It originally had 20, 2, 3. Yeah, it originally had 20 in this layout. And again, I don't know what quilt this was, who designed this layout, who designed these blocks. I don't know. But I basically added a row to it on the side and took a row out, I think, in the middle. So it's a little bit off balance. This side will have more blocks than this side, but I love this. I love this. It makes me want to find these blocks, because these are basic blocks that you could probably find online somewhere, but I could probably put this image in Google and get what this actual quilt pattern is what I should have done so I could tell y'all. But anyway, this is my plan for the layout. Very simple, not complicated. Fat Quarter Shops is very pretty, but again, I want to, and I don't know what their finished size winds up being. Let me look. So they're 6-inch. The quilt will be 42.5 by 42.5. This one will be 6. It will be a little bit bigger. No. It'll be a little bit smaller. I was trying to do that with 6-inch blocks. So it's a 6 by 6 setting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so it'll make it 36 inches. So it'll be a little bit smaller. But that, again, is my plan for how I'm going to do the blocks. And I came in this morning and I did the first block. I went back and forth about what I wanted to do as my fabric choice. What I ultimately decided was, I have batiks everywhere and I haven't really started a batik quilt in a while. I have a couple that are in the works, but they're just kind of at a standstill. And I was like, let me just use up some of my scraps, which is something I'm going to talk about in a little bit. And so, and then once I got this layout image, I like the brightness of the blocks. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do it in batiks. So here's my first block, and I absolutely love it. I do not know right now if I will, because part of me also thought that this would be pretty if I did all these blocks red and all these blocks blue, because then it would be patriotic, right? And you can't have too many patriotic blocks. And then I was like, well, I don't know, which I could, you know, I could do one section blues and greens and one section pinks and reds, and that would be really pretty. Or I could just mix it up like these colors. There's so many things that you can do with every single quilt pattern to make it look different. It's just, the possibilities are endless. So, but there's my first block, and I'm very, very pleased with it. Very happy with it. Okay, now I want to talk about, I did have a quilt I wanted to start that I wasn't able to, and that is the So Kind of Wonderful birthday cake quilt that I showed in the last video. I didn't pull it up right here because I didn't do anything with it, but I still want to do that. I just was not able to get that started as of yet. But I was able to work on the memory quilt some. So the memory quilt, if you didn't watch my last video, is a quilt that I'm making for a friend of mine. She lost her grandpa and she brought me some of his old shirts, and I am doing a quilt out of his shirts for her. Now, most of the shirts that she brought me are in the like blue color family. There's one red shirt, there's one peach shirt. I do not think I'm going to put those two in the quilt. I might do something on the back with the label with those, but I really like all these bluey colors. It's like blue, gray, black, teal, and I just felt like just a little pop of red and peach in there was going to take away from the quilt. So what I have done is, let me see how I want to show these. So the quilt is alternating between 4 patches and white blocks. So I have 3 rows completely done. And I'll just show you. So they're basically going to alternate like so. So you can kind of see how the design is going to go. Now this is all scrappy. And it goes so fast. Like once you get in a rhythm, you'll be in great shape. My husband, he had to work this morning, and when he gets home, we have to run errands. But when we come home, I hope that I can come in here and work on this a little bit because it goes really fast. And I put on my Toby Mac t-shirt this morning because I love to come in here and put some Toby Mac on and start sewing. And I mean, it's just like boop, boop, boop. You just get in a rhythm. It's great. So, I mean, I have a lot of prep work done. I have strips of shirts. And I like these. Some of them are just solid and some have a little, can you see, like a little bit of design on them. And I really like those. I got a plaid. He had some striped shirts. So, again, a lot of blues that I really like. The white I'm using, again, is Kona white. I have a bunch of my squares cut out. So far, I have not had to cut any of the Kona white off of my bolt. I had talked way back in one of my cross stitch videos. I keep a bolt of Kona black, Kona snow, and Kona white in my sewing room. I use those a lot within my quilting as my accent or my background or my borders or my backing because it's nice just to have that staple item. Now, sometimes I will order special for a particular quilt, but I like to have that as a staple because I'm able to then use that in multiple quilts and I always have it on hand and it just makes the whole flow of everything a lot better. I don't have to wait on fabric to come if I, was shorted it. Like, it works for me is what I'll say. So far I have done those 3 rows. I've done all these blocks. All the white pieces in between so far. And these are all in the works. These are all my, where I just have the 2. So then you'll basically like flip it and sew them to make your 4 patch. So I've done all of this so far that I've shown you, and it's all been from scraps from previous quilts. When I send them off, my quilts off to the long armor, when they come back, I trim my edges and then I take my batting and my extra fabric off and put them in piles and I reuse them in other projects. And you would be amazed how much you can do off the trimmings of previous quilts. So just a little money saving tip there. The next quilt that I worked on was my Valentine quilt. I know Valentine's is over with, and I wasn't necessarily wanting to have this done by Valentine's. I just have had this fabric forever, and I loved it, and I was like, I'm just going to make something out of it. So I had a layer cake of this fabric. It is a Sweetwater line, and I don't remember what it was because I don't think I kept the label, but I did say in the last quilting video. So I looked online, I looked around in my room, and I was like, I don't really have, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I was like, I have one layer cake pattern that I do a lot just because it's fast and easy, but I didn't necessarily want to do that, but I didn't want it too intricate. So I went on to Fat Quarter Shop and I pulled up Layer Cake Shuffle. This is one of their free patterns. It's super easy. You basically just make a bunch of hourglass blocks So over, I would come home and work on it for a little bit, maybe do 4 or 5 a night, amongst other things. I will say my whole crafty time frame has been interrupted by the lack of a well-functioning washer and dryer. My dryer had been acting up. My husband fixed it. He put a new element in it, and then he had to put a new thermostat or something on it, and he was very aggravated with it. He got that up and running. It was great, and then within days, not even a full week, within days, my washing machine, every time it would go into a spin cycle, it sounded like an airplane was landing. And I don't know if I said that in the last video or not, but we dealt with that for a little bit, and we are now the owners of a brand new washer and dryer, and it is 12:15. I've already done 5 loads of laundry today. Fabulous. Because it was taking literally all day to do like 3 loads of laundry. But anyway, all that to say, as I was here waiting on laundry, this is what I was doing between loads. And now that I can do, hopefully get to doing all my laundry pretty fast, I will have more quilting time. But I have all of my hourglass units are made. I have laid them out and I've labeled them by row so that I can sit down at the machine and just knock out sewing my rows together. It will go together super, super fast. I did enlist my husband to help me lay this out because he's really good at color placement and seeing things that I don't see. When you do this, when you lay out your quilt and you see it and you have decided that's how you want it, label it however you do your labels. Like I said, I label mine by the rows, sew them together. But before I start picking them up and put them in my stacks, I always take a picture, because you don't know what will happen. The best you secure your blocks together in hopes that you will not mess it up, you need that picture to go back and look at. I want to talk about something that I've done with both this quilt and with the memory quilt. No, I didn't do it with the memory quilt. I'm a liar. Something else I worked on. Oh, with my block. Hold on. So what I want to talk about real fast is spinning your seams. So this is a spun seam. And this is a spun seam. This is not a spun seam. Okay, now the difference is, if you look at how these blocks, I'm sorry, it's really bright right now outside, how these blocks are laying. So my seam allowance is pressed this way, this way, this way, this way. It's all going in the same direction. If you see what I'm saying, that's what you can accomplish with a spun seam. This one, so my seam allowance is going this way, this way, this way, but this one is up. If you see, so the benefit to doing a spun seam is that this middle piece of your quilt, right here where my finger is, it will make that less bulky. It's not necessary. It's just if you have that preference, or I shouldn't say preference, because a lot of time the quilting will just take care of a lot. And I've said that before and I'll continue to say it because it does. Quilting hides a lot. But I really like the way that it lays as I'm piecing it together if I have spun my seams, if that is an option. So just a little tip for you. Also, I wanted to talk about, let me pull one of these off. And I'm sorry if this is just too much wordy information. You're probably like, Laura, we know how to quilt. We don't need you to tell us. So this is something, let me put a pin in here so I don't flip everything upside down. Okay, so when I was making these hourglass blocks, so it's basically you draw the line, you know, you have to sew a 1/4 inch line on either side of a line down the middle, split it in half, open it, press it, flip it, do the same thing. When you are sewing these pieces back together, so this would have been the last step of sewing. I would have sewn this seam together where I have the two sides. So you want this seam in the middle to match, right? So how many times have you made it match right here? You hold it with your finger or your pin or whatever. You put it under your machine. You start feeding it through. You get to the other end. You open it and your middle seam doesn't match. Like you want a nice, pretty seam. Make sure I'm showing you one that matches. A nice, pretty seam, right? So what I do, and I learned this from watching, there was an episode, an old episode of Fat Quarter Shop where she had Edita from Laundry Basket Quilts on. And she said something that has stuck with me for the longest time because she's a genius. When you have this last row and you're sewing it together, now if this was a smaller block, say your end to end was only this long, it's pretty easy to keep that middle part together. But when you have a bigger area, it tends to shift by the time you get there. And I'm sure if y'all have ever done this, you've experienced it with a bigger piece. But what Edita says is there's nothing that says you have to start sewing from this end. If you're doing, and I did basting stitches on these again to make sure my points matched. If you start, you can start right here. Do your stitch, open it up, look at it. You can, if you don't do basting stitches, if you're not that quilter, you just want to sew it one time and be done. So you can start stitching right here. Stitch down where it matches, then flip it and stitch your other side. You do not have to start your stitch here and end it here every time. And I hope that made sense, what I was trying to relay with that. It, like I said, after she said that, I started doing that with a lot of my piecing and was amazed at how much sanity it saved me. All right, so I would like to say that I will have this done, the top done by the next video, but I'm not sure because again, I have a couple quilts that are on deadline, so we will see. But when I do get back to this, it will not take long at all. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is crumb quilting. So this is what I had wanted to do in my first video, but I opted to talk about block of the month. So this, I love crumb quilting. I haven't done any in a long time. I don't even remember how I first came upon crumb quilting, but lately I've seen a lot of people. Sorry, my mailman was like having struggles. I've seen a lot of people doing crumb quilting as of late, and it made me want to get mine back out and work on it. Somewhere in this room, I have, I'm pretty sure it's 9 crumb blocks done, and they are either 12 or 12.5 inches. I'm pretty sure. Maybe 10. They're at least 10 inches, I'll say that. I only need to make 3 more in order to make it into the quilt that I had envisioned in my head. I just knew this morning I could come in here and go right to where they were, where I thought they were, get them and be able to show them to you. I don't know where they are, but I will find them. I will find them. So it got me thinking, you know, let me just pull my scraps together, because I don't know if you're like me. I get done with a quilt and for some reason I have to keep all the scraps together in a little bag. That's crazy because they're just sitting around all these bags. So I went through and got rid of all these bags. I really thought that all my crumbs would be batiks because I have a lot of batik crumbs. A lot. I started out keeping them in one of them little movie popcorn buckets. And now it is the movie popcorn bucket. It's a big tote full of batik scraps and one of these full. I bought these at Target. They're stackable. Oh, and they have a little cubby in the front. These are all the scraps I found in my room that are not batiks. It's a lot. So I want to start using some of these and go through and see if I can build some crumb blocks. So let me find a couple in here just to kind of give you an idea. So some of the things that are in here is leftover binding, the cutoffs of, you know, when you're making either half square triangles. I have some, this is leftover from a quilt. This was like, you know, just stray pieces. I have, here is the two halves of my block that I did, that was going to be 1/2 inch short. There's no need to get rid of that. We can make that into something. In here, I also have, here are some of the scraps left from my QUILT. I did not use the whole jelly roll, so these are the scraps off of there. I have, here are some pieces from a quilt I did years upon years ago. Just the amount of stuff that you find. I mean, I have some of my script fabric. I have Christmas pieces that were left. These were from a stocking I did. A couple different stockings. That's a different line. So just a ridiculous amount of stuff in here. More jelly roll scraps. So I want to do some crumb quilting. Crumb quilting is normally defined by really small, I don't want to say really small, smaller pieces that maybe you can't cut. Like these, I could cut 2.5 inch blocks out of there. But like these, I'm not really going to be able to cut anything out of there other than maybe like a 1 inch block to use. So you basically just lay these down and start building off of them. I'm going to grab my batiks to show you that bucket. All right, so what I thought would be a bigger bucket is, I mean, not as full as the other one. I'm really upset I could not find those blocks earlier. But I do know that a lot of them are started with things like this. So I made a quilt a while back, and it used the tube ruler where you made your strip sets, and this is a tube. This is sewn together, right? Like, so you know, I'm not really gonna cut that apart, take all the seams out of it, and then use it to make blocks. So I will cut that up and use. So it could be that you start with, let's say we start with this. So you might take this, and here's another little piece, and you might sew these two pieces together. So then you have this strip set. And then you might take another piece and you might sew it sideways across the bottom. And you just build and build and build that block until it reaches the size you want. And then you trim it down to whatever block you want to use. So what I will try to do over the next couple days is dig through some of this stuff, find those blocks, and post them on my Instagram, and then I will have them for the next video to be able to show you. Okay, I hope all that babbly made sense. The next thing I want to show you is I'm going to show you my haul, and then I'm going to show you the next quilt to be quilted, and that'll be the end of the video for today. All right, this looks like a lot of haul, but then when I think about it, you know, it's like a month between quilt videos, so probably not terrible, terrible. But I did get another installment of the 15th Simple Whatnots Club Kim Deal fabric. This one will make box of chocolates. Look at that quilt. I cannot wait to get back to these. I love these so much. I got some fabric. This is from, oh, I thought that was a bug. It's a piece of fuzz. This is from a friend of mine. We are both in a program with Riley Blake where it's like a creators club where we can get fabric from Riley Blake and post what we make from it. She was able to get, there's only so many bundles that go out every month. She was able to get a bundle and she shared with me because I missed out on the bundle. So I have a cool idea for what I'm going to do with these. The So Kind of Wonderful Club that I talked about, I did print my patterns off for this month that I got. Solarium. So pretty. I got Posh Lucky. I've been looking at this one. I think I have to make that. It's just little. It wouldn't take long. I love that scrappy background. That would probably be in batiks. And then I got Posh Kitty because, you know, we have a kitty. Ammo is a tortie, so I will change the colors a little bit. But I think I need to make that since I have the kitty. I did get a quilt magazine, Quilter's World. I think that quilt on the front is really pretty. If you took those same colors and did it with prints instead of the solids, it would just add so much. But I'm very, very tickled with this one. It has several really cool quilts in here. Let me see if I can, if they show them on the one page together. No, they do not. Look at this one. Look at that. Oh. That is the spring 2026 issue. So that's probably still out. I did get a quilt kit from Teresa Kogut. This is Naughty or Nice. I was going to get just the quilt panel, but they didn't have any more. It was just the kit, so I didn't have a problem buying that. This was a Christmas present that came late for my daughter. I had this on my wish list and she got it for me. Oh, love it. Okay, sorry. Hubby came home. I had to say hi. This is a great book. Crumbs. So it kind of goes along, and this will maybe I can give you a better idea of what I'm trying to say. So let me just find a good example. So this, for example. So see, this is made with triangles. That's a triangle. This is a triangle. I know I called this a triangle last time. I know that's a rectangle. But see how they use scraps of fabric together to form the triangle? To use the triangle within the quilt. That is crumb quilting. I love this one. Look at this. Oh. This one and this other one I'm about to show you is the reason why I wanted this book. God, everything in here is so pretty, but look at this. I want to do this so bad. So bad. But you can see, so the blue, like each half hexie is a color, but over here the half hexies are made with crumbs from your other quilts. So I will be obsessed with that. This one, this is, I love Jen Kingwell. If you can see, this is not even open yet. I bought it with some birthday money, with some Christmas money. I could not wait for this to come out. I have her quilt recipes book that I have obsessed over. Haven't made the first thing out of it yet. This I will open when I have the time to sit down and just spend time oohing and on over everything in it. You can go on her Instagram and she has pictures of the quilts that are in it. She's amazing. I have so many of her quilt patterns at this point, and I have to get busy knocking some out because I love it. She has one that I want to say that she said she was releasing it at QuiltCon. It's amazing. I can't wait for it to come out. It's a paper piece and it is so beautiful. Her color choices are so great in her quilts. So great. Okay, let me grab what's going to be quilted next. All right, I had one more little bit of haul I didn't show you. The fabric came in for my niece's wedding quilt. So like I said, the memory quilt and wedding quilt take priority, but these are the fabrics. These blue and white, they are from the Blueprint collection. The greens are from a different collection from the same designer. This is going to be the border, and it's part of the Blueprints line. And then this is just a coordinating Kona. Oh, I'm so excited when it came. I just oohed and awed over it, just ready to cut into it. Ready. All right, let me get the dust off this. So this is the quilt that I'm going to send off next to get quilted. I do not think I will have time to quilt one myself, so that was part of the deciding factor. I have them lined up on my rack as to the order, kind of, that I wanted them quilted in. This one is probably 4 or 5 back, but I chose this one because it's an older one. I love it. I have the backing. All I have to do is piece 2 pieces together. I have the batting. I know what design I want, so it's going to take no thought at all to get this one together to get it to the long armor. This is a snail trail quilt block. It is my favorite quilt block. Why I don't have this one already done, I don't know. I started this one years ago with my friend Paula. She has had hers done forever and ever and ever and ever. We use the same fabric line, and actually there may be a block or 2 in here that Paula made, because I think she gave me some of her scraps, and I want to say there was a couple blocks in there and I used them in mine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a quarter of it because I don't have the room to be able to stand up and show the full thing because it's kind of big. So this is the border, so pretty. And then this is obviously a block, but when you put the 4 together, it makes this bigger design. So it's just a scrappy version of all that together. The design that I want to have quilted on this, I have had done before on a quilt. It is, ooh, sorry, you saw all that junk under my table. It is a rose pattern. It's very pretty and very feminine, and I love it. This will be the binding. And this is actually, I hardly ever buy backing at the same time as my quilts because, like I said, I normally use the white and cream, but this one, I went ahead and bought this as my backing. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. I almost hate to use it just for the back because it's so gorgeous, but it goes so good with this quilt. Oh my goodness. And I have a ton of it. I bought a lot. So hopefully the plan is the next video you will see this one quilted, and I'm very excited about that. Very excited. So that's all the babbly I have today. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. I don't know what's wrong with me. I wanted to show you, I have a couple of quilt patterns that I bought to put in my Etsy shop. I would like to start carrying quilt patterns in there, but you know, you have to start things slow. So I do have a couple other like handmade things that I put in there, but these are the 3 quilt patterns I have listed so far. They are all 3 by Jessica Dayon, who is fabulous. She has a YouTube channel. She is a pattern and quilt designer. These were all 3 of these were done using her, I knew I was going to mess that up and forget it, the Bright Side line that she has just recently put out. So the first one is Sunshine, which is so cute. So that one is in my Etsy shop. I have Home Sweet Home in my Etsy shop. And I also have Scrappy Days, which I love. I mean, I love all of them. That's why I got them in my shop. But I think this one, I really want to make this one at some point. I love some stars. And I think she is going to do a quilt along with 1 or possibly all 3 of these. I only have a couple left of Scrappy Days. So if you're interested in that one, jump on over there, because they, as soon as I put them in the shop, they were like ping, 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 ping. Like everybody loves that one because it is beautiful. The other 2 are too, but just to throw that out there, those are listed currently in my shop. And I will list that down below. Okay, I think that really is all that I have to show, and I gotta get busy. Hubby's here. We're gonna go eat, go run our errands, and then I'm gonna come back, and hopefully those blocks will just show up magically in my room. They'll probably be right in front of me when I walk in. But it was fun to hang out with y'all today. I hope until I see you again, you get lots of quilty. Hope you get lots of quilting done, and I hope that it brings you the happiness that it does me. And I will see you in a month, give or take, for the next quilting video. Until then, I will probably post a couple floss tube videos in that time frame, is how it worked last time. So if you're interested in those, maybe give me a subscribe, get notifications so you'll know when they come out. They're normally every 2 weeks. But if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, like, just so I know you're out there, or leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you're up to. See you guys.